Kill her before he smells what she is. The blade was already falling when every wolf in the courtyard collapsed. Silver eyes locked on Callienne. That scent. How is that possible? Her father's face went white. She never shifted, Alpha Garrett stammered. She's useless, she's forbidden. The Alpha King moved toward the chains. And she's mine. Something inside Callienne's chest screamed in answer. If you can't stand alphas who execute their own children for being different, hit subscribe, only cruel pack leaders won't. Comment no Omega deserves execution if you believe everyone has hidden strength. Callienne's knees slammed against cold stone as the guards shoved her forward. The iron shackles bit into her wrists, leaving rust-colored marks on her sun-starved skin. 3 days. She had survived 3 days in the holding cell beneath the Alpha's manor, listening to her father discuss execution methods with his beta like they were planning a feast. Stand her up, Alpha Garrett commanded. I want her to see what's coming. Rough hands yanked Callienne to her feet. Her threadbare dress, once cream, now stained with cell grime, hung loose on her frame. 20 years of scraps and leftovers had left her lean where Isla was curved, hollow where her twin was full. The ironwood pack formed a tight circle around the execution platform, faces illuminated by torches that cast dancing shadows across the courtyard's ancient stones. Father, must we do this publicly? Isla's voice carried false concern, the same sugary tone she'd used when reporting Callienne's failures to the Alpha. Perhaps a quieter method. The pack needs to see what happens to defects, Garrett interrupted, his gray eyes, so like Callienne's own, devoid of paternal warmth. We've tolerated this stain for 2 decades. No more. Callienne kept her gaze on the ground. Fighting only made the beatings worse. Beta Marcus had taught her that lesson with fists and wolf fangs when she was 12, when she dared to defend herself against Isla's accusations of theft. The scars still decorated her ribs. But beneath her forced submission, something stirred. It always had. A presence that whispered in her dreams, that made her skin prickle during full moons, that left her gasping awake with phantom sensations of claws and fur. The healers called it delusion. Her father called it pathetic grasping at normalcy. Callienne had stopped calling it anything at all. The wind changed. Every wolf in the courtyard tensed simultaneously, head swiveling toward the main gates. The torches flickered wildly, as if the flames themselves were bowing. Callienne's chest constricted, not from fear, but from something else entirely, a pulse so visceral it stole her breath. Footsteps. Measured. Purposeful. Heavy boots on stone. The crowd parted like water before a blade. Alpha King Alaric Wolfhart entered the courtyard, and the air itself seemed to thicken with authority. 6'5" of raw dominance wrapped in black leather and silver wolf pelts, his presence crashed over the assembled wolves like a physical force. His beta, a scarred woman named Sienna, flanked him with 2 royal guards. But all Callienne could see were those eyes, silver as a full moon, sharp as a hunter's blade, currently sweeping the courtyard with calculated assessment. Then those eyes found her. Alaric stopped mid-stride. His nostrils flared. And for the first time in Callienne's life, she saw an Alpha's expression shift from command to something that looked dangerously like shock. Your Majesty. Alpha Garrett dropped to one knee, the rest of the pack following suit. Even Isla, though her movements were slower, more reluctant. We did not expect you until. What is the meaning of this? Alaric's question cut through Garrett's greeting like a blade through silk. He moved forward, each step deliberate, his gaze never leaving Callienne. You're executing a pack member? Without trial? A formality, Your Majesty. Garrett's smile was all teeth, no warmth. This Omega has failed to shift for 20 years. Pack law states. I know what pack law states. Alaric was close now, close enough that Callienne could smell him, ancient forests and storm clouds and something indefinably wild that made her pulse spike. Release her. Immediately. The command resonated with alpha dominance so potent that Beta Marcus moved before conscious thought, keys already in hand. The shackles fell from Callienne's wrists with a dull clang that echoed in the sudden silence. She didn't move. Couldn't. Because Alaric Wolfhart was staring at her like she was a puzzle he needed to solve, and his proximity was doing impossible things to her senses. Her skin felt too tight. Her chest ached with each breath. And beneath it all, that presence inside her, the one the healers called delusion, was screaming. Mine. What's your name? Alaric's voice had softened, but the command still threaded through every syllable. Callienne Wynter, Your Majesty. Her voice emerged hoarse from 3 days without proper water. Look at me, Callienne. She shouldn't. Protocol demanded eyes downcast before alphas, especially the king. But something in his tone bypassed logic and pack hierarchy, compelling obedience at a level that transcended learned behavior. Callienne lifted her gaze. Silver met gray. The world tilted. Alaric inhaled sharply, and she watched recognition flash across his features, not of her, but of something in her scent, something that made his wolf rise so close to the surface that his eyes briefly flashed with inner light. His hand moved, hovering near her cheek but not quite touching, as if he were afraid she might shatter. Moonblood and starfire, he murmured, so quietly only she could hear. The Elara bloodline. I thought it was extinct. Callienne had no idea what he meant. But the way he said it, with reverence and shock and something that tasted like possessive hunger, made her instinctively step back. Alaric's hand dropped. His expression shuddered. When he turned to face Alpha Garrett, the warmth vanished, replaced by glacial authority. The Unity Summit begins tomorrow, Alaric stated, his tone brooking no argument. Callienne Wynter will attend as my personal guest. Any objections, Alpha Garrett? It wasn't really a question. The threat beneath the courtesy was clear as mountain spring water. Garrett's jaw clenched, a muscle twitching beneath his weathered skin. Callienne knew that look. She'd seen it before he'd ordered her mother's belongings burned. Before he'd assigned her to the stables. Before he'd scheduled her execution. No objections, Your Majesty. Each word sounded like it cost him physical pain. Though I must warn you, the Omega is damaged. Mentally unstable. Claims to hear a wolf that doesn't exist. I'll take that risk. Alaric extended his hand toward Callienne, palm up, an invitation rather than a command. Come. You're under my protection now. Callienne stared at that outstretched hand. Scarred knuckles. Calluses from weapon training. Strong fingers that could crush bone or offer sanctuary. Behind Alaric, Beta Sienna watched with sharp assessment but no hostility. The royal guards remained impassive. Behind her, she could feel Isla's fury radiating like heat from a forge. Garrett's barely contained rage. Beta Marcus's confusion. The pack's collective disbelief that their Omega reject was being claimed by the Alpha King himself. Every instinct screamed that this was a trap. That kindness from Alphas always came with teeth attached. That she should run, hide, make herself small and forgettable like she'd learned to survive. But that presence inside her, the one that whispered and dreamed and raged against the cage of her ribs, surged forward with desperate recognition. Mate. Ours. Mine. Callienne placed her hand in Alaric's. His fingers closed around hers, warm and steady, and the contact sent electricity racing up her arm. She watched his pupils dilate, watched him struggle to control whatever instinct her touch triggered. For a heartbeat, she thought he might pull her against him right there in front of everyone. Instead, he simply held her hand and turned to his beta. Sienna, escort Callienne to the guest wing. Have the healers see to any injuries. She's not to be left alone with any member of the Ironwood pack. His gaze cut to Garrett. And I mean any member. Your Majesty, she's my daughter, Garrett began. She was minutes from execution. Alaric's voice dropped to a lethal softness that made every wolf in the courtyard flinch. What kind of father orders his child's death for circumstances beyond her control? We'll discuss your leadership decisions tomorrow. Thoroughly. The dismissal was absolute. Alaric released Callienne's hand, reluctantly, she noted, and gestured for Sienna to take over. The beta moved with efficient grace, positioning herself between Callienne and the still kneeling pack. This way, Omega, Sienna said, not unkindly. Let's get you cleaned up. As Callienne followed the beta toward the manor's guest wing, she glanced back once. Alaric stood in the center of the courtyard, silver eyes tracking her movement with predatory focus. Her father looked murderous. Isla's face had gone pale with shock and something that looked disturbingly like jealousy. But it was the king's expression that made Callienne's breath catch. Because beneath the alpha dominance and royal authority, she recognized the same desperate, confusing pull she felt. Whatever this was between them, mate bond, destiny, biological imperative, it terrified her. Because everyone who'd ever cared about her had died or disappeared. Her mother, gone from complications after giving birth to twins. The kitchen Omega who'd smuggled her extra food, found dead in the woods 3 years ago. Even the stable master who'd treated her with basic decency had transferred to another pack under mysterious circumstances. Callienne was cursed. Poison. A walking disaster that destroyed anyone who showed her kindness. And she'd just been claimed by the most powerful alpha in the Northern Territories. If you've ever been called damaged or broken by people who should protect you, comment I'm stronger than their words. Hit subscribe if you believe Alaric sees what Garrett refused to, only alphas like Garrett won't. The guest chamber was larger than any space Callienne had ever occupied. Polished oak floors instead of straw. Windows with actual glass instead of shutters. A bed, an actual bed with pillows and blankets, that looked softer than clouds. She stood in the doorway, afraid to enter, afraid her presence might somehow contaminate this evidence of how other wolves lived. You can come in, Sienna said dryly, brushing past her. The floor won't bite. I'll dirty it. Callienne gestured at her filthy dress, the grime coating her skin from 3 days in the cell. Sienna's expression softened fractionally. The bath is already drawn. Through that door. I'll have clean clothes sent up. She hesitated, then added, Alaric's orders were specific. You're to be treated as visiting pack royalty. Anyone who disrespects you answers to him personally. Callienne's laugh emerged bitter. Pack royalty. 3 hours ago, I was scheduled for execution. Now I'm, what? A curiosity? A challenge for the king to solve? You're his mate. The words hung in the air like a death sentence and a salvation simultaneously. Callienne shook her head, denial automatic. That's impossible. Omegas don't mate with Alpha Kings. And I don't even have a wolf. How could? You have a wolf. Sienna's certainty was unshakable. I've served Alaric for 15 years. I've never seen him react like that to anyone. The mate bond doesn't lie, and it doesn't care about pack politics. She moved toward the door, pausing on the threshold. Bath. Clothes. Food will arrive shortly. Rest if you can. Tomorrow will be complicated. After Sienna left, Callienne stood frozen in the center of the chamber for a full minute. Then she moved to the bathroom, and the sight of the copper tub filled with steaming water nearly broke her. When was the last time she'd bathed in hot water? The Pack Omega quarters had a cold water pump. Isla bathed in rose-scented oils while Callienne scrubbed with harsh soap and water that left her shivering. She stripped off the ruined dress, caught her reflection in the mirror, and stopped. Bruises. New and old. The recent ones from the guards formed angry purple blooms across her ribs. But it was the scars that told the real story, thin white lines from Beta Marcus's claws, a burn mark on her shoulder from when Isla had accidentally knocked a lamp onto her, the rope burns around her wrists from years of being chained for minor infractions. This was the body of the damaged, unstable Omega Alpha Garrett had described. Callienne sank into the bath and let the tears come. She woke to someone moving in the outer chamber. Heart hammering, she shot upright in the bed. When had she gotten into the bed, her body tensing for attack? But it was just a young Omega arranging covered dishes on a side table, moving with the nervous efficiency of someone afraid to be caught lingering. "I'm sorry to disturb you, miss," the Omega whispered, eyes downcast. "Beta Sienna sent food. I'll leave you to it." "Wait." Callienne slid from the bed, wrapped in a sleeping gown someone had dressed her in. "What's your name?" The Omega looked up, startled. "Nessa, miss." "Are you part of the Ironwood Pack, Nessa?" "Yes, miss." "Kitchen Omega." Nessa's hands twisted together. "I should go. If Beta Marcus finds me talking to you, then don't get caught." Callienne softened her voice. "Thank you for bringing food. And for not looking at me like I'm a disease." Nessa's smile was brief but genuine. She slipped out, pulling the door closed with barely a sound. The food was a revelation. Fresh bread. Roasted meat. Vegetables that hadn't been half-rotted. Callienne ate methodically, making herself slow down, afraid her stomach would rebel against the richness after years of scraps. As she finished, a knock sounded at the door. "Come in," she called, expecting Sienna. Instead, Isla entered, closing the door behind her with deliberate care. Her golden hair was braided with ribbons, her dress a deep emerald that complemented her amber eyes, their mother's eyes, so different from Callienne's gray. She looked every inch the Alpha's cherished daughter. "Sister," Isla purred, the word dripping false affection. "Quite the little performance you put on last night." Callienne set down her fork carefully. "I didn't perform anything. I was chained and waiting to die." "You were there." "Oh, I was there." Isla circled the room, fingers trailing over furniture, assessing value. "I watched you catch the eye of the Alpha King like some scheming seductress. Very clever. Pretending to be helpless while manipulating the most powerful Alpha in the North." "I didn't manipulate anyone." "Didn't you?" Isla turned, and there was something unhinged in her expression. 20 years you've played the victim. Poor Callienne, so abused, so mistreated. Never mind that you're a defect. Never mind that father's leadership has been questioned because of your failure. But now? Now you've sunk your claws into royalty. Callienne stood, the chair scraping against polished wood. Get out. I will. But first, let me share something our dear father is too diplomatic to mention. Isla's smile sharpened. Mother didn't die from birthing complications. She died because her body couldn't handle producing twins when one of them, you, was stealing all the nutrients. You killed her, Callienne. You've been killing people your whole life. That kitchen Omega who was nice to you. Found mauled in the woods. The stable master? Dead from sudden illness within weeks of transferring. Anyone who gets close to you dies. The words hit like physical blows. Callienne had harbored those same fears for years, but hearing them spoken aloud by her twin sister made them real in a way that suffocated. So enjoy your royal attention while it lasts, Isla continued, moving toward the door. But when Alaric Wolfhart figures out what you really are, a curse in Omega form, he'll finish what father started. And I'll be there to pick up the pieces. She left, the door clicking shut with soft finality. Callienne sank back into the chair, Isla's words echoing in the sudden silence. That presence inside her, the one that had been so vocal during the execution, had gone eerily quiet. And for the first time, she wondered if maybe her family was right. Maybe she was the problem. The poison. The defect. Maybe it would be kinder to everyone if she'd just accepted the execution with grace. A sudden knock made her jump. Before she could respond, the door opened again, and Alaric Wolfhart filled the doorway. He'd changed from travel leathers into formal attire, black tunic with silver wolf embroidery, dark pants tucked into boots. His silver eyes swept the room, narrowed when they found her face. What happened? It wasn't a request. It was an Alpha's demand wrapped in concern. Nothing, Your Majesty. I'm fine. You're crying. He crossed the space between them in 3 strides, towering over her but somehow not threatening. And you smell of distress. Tell me what happened. Now. The Alpha command in his voice pulled the truth from her lips before she could stop it. My sister visited. She reminded me that everyone who cares about me dies. That I killed my mother. That I'm a curse. The words tumbled out, pathetic and broken. She's right. You should stay away from me. I destroy everything I touch. Alaric's jaw clenched. Did she threaten you? No. She told the truth. She lied. He crouched, bringing himself to eye level, and the sudden proximity made Callienne's breath hitch. Listen to me. Your mother died from hemorrhaging that no healer could stop. It had nothing to do with you. The kitchen Omega was killed by rogues. We tracked them down and executed them 2 years ago. The stable master died from poison that was intended for your father but was delivered to the wrong quarters by mistake. Callienne stared at him. How do you know all that? Because I've had people watching your pack for 3 years. The Ironwood territory borders my kingdom. I hear things. His expression hardened. Including reports of an Omega being systematically abused by her own Alpha. I came here to investigate. I didn't expect to find my mate chained for execution. I'm not your mate. The denial was automatic, protective. I don't have a wolf. How can I be anyone's mate? You have a wolf. Alaric's hand moved to her face, thumb brushing away a tear with surprising gentleness. She's just been suppressed. Blocked by something chemical or psychological or both. But she's there, Callienne. I can smell her. And she recognizes me. As if summoned by his words, that presence inside Callienne surged. Not whispering now but roaring. Her skin erupted in goosebumps. Her pulse skyrocketed. And for a brief, disorienting moment, she felt claws where her fingernails should be, felt phantom fur, felt easy. Alaric's other hand caught her shoulder, steadying her. Don't fight it. Let her surface. I can't. Panic clawed at Callienne's throat. She's not real. She's delusion, she's yours. Alaric's voice dropped to something between command and plea. Trust her. Trust me. But before Callienne could respond, before she could process what was happening, her body convulsed. Pain lanced through her spine. Her vision blurred. And for the first time in 20 years, she felt her bones begin to shift. If you've ever been told you're too broken to be loved, comment I'm not broken, I'm surviving. Hit subscribe if you believe Isla is wrong about Callienne, only jealous sisters like Isla won't. The partial shift lasted 30 seconds. 30 seconds of agony and impossibility as Callienne's hands twisted into something between human and wolf, as her canines lengthened, as silver fur rippled beneath her skin before vanishing. Then her body rejected the transformation, snapping back to human form with a violence that left her gasping on the floor. Alaric caught her before she collapsed completely, his arms a cage of warmth and strength. Breathe. Just breathe. You did it. You started to shift. That wasn't, I can't, Callienne couldn't form coherent sentences. Her entire body trembled with aftershocks. Your wolf is blocked. Alaric's hand moved in soothing circles on her back. Something is suppressing her. I need to examine you. With your permission. Examine? Callienne's laugh was slightly hysterical. What does that mean? I need to check for suppression marks. Scars, tattoos, anything that could indicate magical interference. And I need to smell your skin more closely, suppressants leave a chemical trace. His voice remained steady, clinical even. I won't touch you anywhere you don't want. You have my word as Alpha and King. Callienne should refuse. Should maintain distance. But that partial shift had changed something. For 30 seconds, she'd felt her. The wolf. Real and alive and furious at being caged. Okay, she whispered. Alaric helped her to the bed, positioning her so she was sitting upright. Then he began a methodical examination, starting with her hands, checking between her fingers for marks. When he moved to her arms, pushing up her sleeves, his expression darkened. These scars. Beta Marcus? Callienne nodded. I'm going to kill him. It was stated as simple fact, not threat. Continue? Another nod. He worked his way up, checking her shoulders, the back of her neck. When he asked her to remove the sleeping gown, she hesitated only a moment before complying, leaving herself in just the thin undergarment. She'd been naked in front of healers before. This shouldn't be different. Except it was. Because Alaric's gaze wasn't clinical. His wolf rode close to the surface, silver eyes occasionally flashing with inner light, his breathing slightly uneven. But he kept his touch professional, impersonal, even as Callienne's skin burned everywhere his fingers ghosted. There. He pointed to a spot low on her left side, just above her hip. Do you know what this is? Callienne twisted to see. A mark about the size of a coin, slightly raised, with a pattern she'd always assumed was a birthmark. I've had it forever. It's a suppression seal. Alaric's fury was palpable. Old magic. Rare and expensive. Someone paid a witch to bind your wolf when you were an infant. His finger traced the mark, and Callienne gasped at the sensation, not pain, but something electric and raw. This is why you couldn't shift. It's not a defect. It's deliberate sabotage. The revelation should have been shocking. Instead, it felt inevitable. My father. Most likely. Or someone who wanted to ensure you'd never threaten Isla's position as heir. Alaric pulled back, and Callienne immediately missed his proximity. I can break the seal. But it will be painful, and there's risk. Your wolf has been caged for 20 years. When she emerges fully, she'll be unstable, Callienne finished. Dangerous. Powerful, Alaric corrected. The Elara bloodline produces what we call Moonborn wolves. Larger, faster, with abilities normal shifters don't possess. It's why your family has been so desperate to hide you. You're not the defect, Callienne. You're the threat. Callienne processed this, her mind racing. My mother. Was she? Elara bloodline. Yes. Her wolf was white with silver eyes. Legend says Moonborn wolves can heal fatal wounds, can commune with actual wolves, can even manipulate lunar cycles. Alaric's expression softened. Your father likely married her for power. Then feared that power when he realized it might pass to his daughters. So he bound your wolf and groomed Isla to be his perfect, controllable heir. 20 years of abuse. 20 years of being called worthless. All because she was too powerful, not too weak. The rage that flooded Callienne was so visceral she actually snarled, the sound more animal than human. Alaric's eyes flashed in response, recognition and approval mixing with something darker. There she is, he murmured. Your wolf. She's furious. So am I. Callienne met his gaze. Break the seal. I want her free. She stopped, the want too large to articulate. She wanted justice. Wanted her father to see what he'd tried to destroy. Wanted to stop being a victim and become something predators feared. The Unity Summit starts in 3 hours. Alaric's hand cupped her face, the gesture possessive and gentle simultaneously. I need you to wait until after. If I break the seal now and your shift goes wrong, I can't protect you while managing the summit. Can you hold on a little longer? Callienne wanted to scream no. Wanted him to rip the seal off immediately. But logic prevailed. Will you stay? Until then? I'm not going anywhere. It was a promise and a threat and a vow all at once. The Unity Summit was a display of pack power and pageantry that Callienne had only glimpsed from servant positions. Now she sat on the raised dais beside Alaric, wearing a dress of deep midnight blue that Sienna had selected, her hair braided with silver thread. Every Alpha in the Northern Territories had gathered in the Ironwood Pack's great hall, and every single one of them stared at the Omega seated at the Alpha King's right hand. Alpha Garrett presided from his own throne, his expression a mask of cordiality that didn't reach his eyes. Isla sat to his left, her amber eyes burning with barely concealed hatred every time she glanced at Callienne. Beta Marcus stood guard near the doors, his posture rigid. The first order of business, Alaric announced, his voice carrying effortlessly across the assembled wolves, is a matter of pack law and justice. Garrett's smile tightened. Your Majesty, surely. I invoke right of challenge. Alaric stood, and the temperature in the hall seemed to drop. Alpha Garrett Wynter, you have abused your position, ordered the execution of an Omega without trial, and concealed evidence of magical interference in pack bloodlines. I challenge your authority and fitness to lead. The hall erupted in shocked murmurs. Challenges between alphas were sacred law, binding combat until one submitted or died. But challenges from the Alpha King were unprecedented. Garrett's face flushed red. This is absurd. The Omega in question is my mate. Alaric's declaration silenced the room instantly. Which means any crime against her is a crime against the crown. Will you accept the challenge, or will you submit and face trial? Garrett's hands clenched on his throne's armrests. Callienne could see the calculation in his eyes. He was a powerful alpha, but Alaric was the king. The odds weren't in his favor. But submission meant admitting guilt, meant losing everything. I accept your challenge, Garrett said finally, standing. But I invoke the right of proxy. My daughter Isla will fight in my place. The murmurs grew louder. Isla's face went white, then pink with anger. Father. You claim to be the superior twin, Garrett said coldly. Prove it. Defeat the king's proxy and restore our family honor. I don't need a proxy. Alaric's voice was ice. I'll fight your daughter myself. No. Callienne stood before she realized she'd made the decision. Every eye turned to her. I'll fight Isla. The silence was absolute. Then Alaric was at her side, voice low and urgent. You can't shift. Then I'll fight in human form. Callienne met Isla's shocked stare. You said I was stealing. Manipulating. Let's see if you can back up those words, sister. Isla recovered quickly, her expression shifting to predatory satisfaction. Gladly. Finally, I can put the defect down permanently. And father won't stop me this time. Combat begins at sunset, Garrett declared, his tone gleeful. In the trial circle. Traditional rules, first blood, submission, or death. May the stronger wolf claim victory. As the summit descended into preparations and wagering, Alaric pulled Callienne aside into an empty corridor. His fury was palpable. That was reckless. Suicidal. You'll be killed. Then break the seal now. Callienne grabbed his hand, placed it over the mark on her side. You said my wolf is powerful. Give her to me. Let me fight with teeth and claws like I was meant to. If the transformation goes wrong, it won't. Callienne didn't know where the certainty came from, but it felt true. She wants this. I want this. Please, Alaric. Let me fight for myself for once in my life. He stared at her, conflict warring in those silver eyes. Then his expression hardened with decision. Not here. Somewhere private. If your shift is violent, I don't want witnesses. They found an abandoned storage room in the manor's oldest wing. Sienna stood guard outside, her instructions clear: no one enters, no matter what sounds they hear. Alaric bolted the door from inside, then turned to Callienne. Lie down. This will hurt. Callienne stretched out on the dusty floor, her heart hammering. Alaric knelt beside her, pushed up her dress to expose the suppression seal. His hand hovered over the mark, and she watched his claws extend, not a full shift, just the partial transformation of an experienced alpha. Once I start, there's no stopping. Your wolf will emerge fully. Are you ready? Yes. Then forgive me for this pain. His claw touched the seal, and Callienne's world exploded into white-hot agony. The seal didn't just suppress her wolf, it had been poisoning her for 20 years, slowly, methodically, ensuring she'd never be strong enough to break free naturally. As Alaric carved through the magical binding, all that accumulated toxin flooded her system at once. Callienne screamed. Her back arched off the floor. Her bones began to break and reform, but wrong, twisted, caught between human and wolf. Blood poured from her nose, her ears. Her skin split as silver fur tried to emerge but couldn't, the transformation stuttering like a broken door. Alaric, stop. Sienna's voice from outside, panicked. You're killing her. She has to push through. Alaric's hands were on Callienne's face, forcing her to look at him. Listen to my voice. Focus on me. Your wolf is fighting the poison. Help her. Guide her. But Callienne couldn't hear him over the agony, couldn't think past the sensation of being torn apart from the inside. That presence, her wolf, was thrashing, confused, enraged, trying to emerge but blocked by 20 years of chemical interference. Then Alaric did something that should have been impossible. He shifted, not fully, but enough that his alpha dominance crashed over Callienne like a tidal wave, his wolf calling to hers with a primal command that bypassed conscious thought. Shift. Now. Come to me. And something inside Callienne answered. The transformation that followed was nothing like the storybooks described. It was violent and bloody and wrong in every way. But when it finished, when the screaming stopped and the pain faded to distant throb, Callienne opened her eyes, and the world looked entirely different. She saw in colors she'd never perceived. Heard Sienna's heartbeat through the door. Smelled Alaric's wolf, wild cedar, and storm clouds, and beneath that, the metallic tang of her own blood. She tried to speak and a growl emerged instead. She looked down at paws. Silver-white fur. Claws that gleamed like moonlight. There you are, Alaric breathed, wonder in his voice. Hello, beautiful. Callienne, the wolf, tried to stand and nearly fell. Her legs were too long, her body too large. She was massive, she realized. Larger than any Omega wolf should be. Larger than most alphas. Alaric's hand touched her fur, and the contact sent sparks through her entire body. His wolf and hers recognized each other with a certainty that transcended logic. Mates. Partners. Two halves of a whole that had finally aligned. Can you hear me? Alaric asked. Callienne nodded, an awkward, jerky movement with her wolf head. Your control is remarkable for a first shift. Most new wolves are lost to instinct for hours. He ran his hand down her neck, checking for injuries. How do you feel? Callienne tried to answer and managed a soft whine. She felt powerful. Alive. Complete in a way she'd never experienced. And beneath it all, furious. 20 years stolen. 20 years caged. Someone would pay for that. Shift back, Alaric instructed gently. I'll guide you through it. The return transformation was easier, almost natural. Within seconds, Callienne was human again, naked and covered in blood but whole. Alaric immediately wrapped his cloak around her, his gaze carefully averted to give her modesty. How do you feel? He repeated. Like I could kill gods. Callienne's voice was hoarse but steady. And like I definitely want to kill my sister. Alaric's smile was predatory. Then let's make sure you win. If you've ever had someone try to suppress who you really are, comment I was born powerful. Hit subscribe if you can't wait to see Callienne destroy Isla. Only people who fear strong women won't. The trial circle was ancient stone carved with runes of binding. Once a wolf entered, they couldn't leave until the challenge ended. The ironwood pack crowded around the perimeter, a mass of bodies and hungry eyes. Other alphas from the summit claimed the choice viewing positions. And standing in the circle's center, already shifted into her golden wolf form, Isla waited. She was beautiful. Callienne had to admit that. Her wolf was large for a female, her fur the color of summer wheat, her amber eyes bright with confidence and anticipation. She paced the circle like a predator assured of victory. Final chance to submit, Garrett called from his position at the circle's edge. Callienne, you're outmatched. End this peacefully. Since when do you care about peace, father? Callienne's voice carried across the assembled crowd. She stood at the circle's entrance, wearing simple fighting leathers, her silver-white hair unbound. You ordered my execution 3 days ago. Or have you forgotten? You were a defect then. You remain a defect now. Garrett's expression was cold. One shift doesn't make you a true wolf. Then this should be quick. Callienne stepped into the circle, and the runes flared with binding magic. No escape now. Isla, are you sure father made the right choice? You could submit. Walk away. I'll let you. Isla's wolf snarled, the sound vicious and final. No submission. No mercy. So be it. Callienne closed her eyes, reached for that presence inside, no longer whispering but roaring, and shifted. The transformation was faster this time, smoother. Her bones realigned with brutal efficiency. Silver fur erupted across her skin. Her perspective changed as she grew, and kept growing. When the shift completed, Callienne stood in her wolf form, and the crowd's collective gasp was audible. She was massive. Nearly twice Isla's size. Her silver-white fur seemed to glow with its own luminescence, and her eyes, no longer gray but blazing silver like Alaric's, fixed on her sister with predatory focus. Isla actually stepped back, her confidence cracking. From outside the circle, Alaric's voice rang out. First blood, submission, or death. Traditional rules. Let the challenge begin. Isla attacked first, desperate to claim initiative. She was fast, Callienne granted her that. The golden wolf's teeth snapped at Callienne's throat, seeking the quick kill that would end this before Callienne could use her size advantage. But Callienne's wolf had been caged for 20 years. And now that she was free, she was done being prey. Callienne sidestepped the lunge with liquid grace, and as Isla passed, Callienne's paw lashed out. Claws raked across Isla's flank, drawing first blood. The golden wolf yelped, spinning to face her opponent. First blood to Callienne, Beta Sienna announced. Isla Wynter, do you submit? Isla's answer was another attack, this time going low, trying to hamstring Callienne's back legs. It was a brutal tactic, one that would cripple permanently if it connected. Callienne leaped, her powerful legs launching her clear over Isla's head, and landed behind her sister. The fight wasn't about winning anymore. It was about making a point. Callienne's teeth clamped down on Isla's scruff, not to kill, but to dominate. She lifted her sister bodily and shook, the way an adult wolf disciplined a pup. Then she threw Isla across the circle. The golden wolf slammed into the stone barrier, dazed. The crowd was dead silent. This wasn't a fight. This was a lesson. Isla struggled to her feet, limping now, blood matting her golden fur. But she didn't submit. Instead, she shifted back to human form, a desperate tactic to try verbal manipulation. "You think you've won?" Isla panted, clutching her injured side. "You think the pack will follow you? You're still the Omega who scrubbed floors. Still the defect we all laughed at." Callienne shifted back, standing naked and unconcerned in the center of the circle. Blood, Isla's blood, stained her hands. "I was never the defect, Isla. I was the daughter our father feared so much he had a witch bind my wolf when I was an infant. I was the real heir, the one with the Elara bloodline, the one who threatened everything he'd built." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Garrett's face drained of color. "You want to know why you were always the golden child?" Callienne continued, her voice carrying to every wolf present. "Because you were weak enough to control. But me? I was going to be powerful. So powerful that father paid a witch to suppress my wolf, fed me lies about being broken, and finally ordered my execution when he couldn't hide me anymore." "Lies," Garrett roared. "The Omega is delusional." "Then explain this." Alaric stepped forward, holding a leather journal. "Found in your private study, Alpha Garrett. A record of payments to the witch Morgana for bloodline suppression. Detailed notes about ensuring the silver twin never discovered her true nature. And a final entry dated 3 months ago: if the Alpha King discovers the Elara bloodline survives, all is lost. Execute the defect before the Unity Summit." The silence was absolute. Then the assembled alphas began to murmur, the sound building into a roar of outrage. A father suppressing his own daughter's wolf was a crime so severe that most packs would execute the offender immediately. Garrett's beta, Marcus, lunged forward as if to destroy the journal. But Sienna was faster, her blade at his throat before he'd taken 2 steps. "I wouldn't," she advised coldly. In the circle, Isla stared at her father with dawning horror. "You knew? This whole time, you knew she wasn't defective? And you let me believe, let everyone believe. It was necessary." Garrett's mask had finally cracked, revealing the paranoid, power-hungry alpha beneath. "The Elara bloodline is forbidden. Their wolves are too powerful, too unstable. If the other packs knew Callienne carried that blood, they'd have demanded her death. I was protecting her by suppressing." "You were protecting yourself," Callienne interrupted. "You married Mother for her bloodline's power, hoping to breed powerful heirs. But when you realized that power might challenge you, you destroyed it. And you destroyed Mother when she figured out what you'd done." "Your mother died in childbirth," Garrett insisted. "My mother was poisoned." Callienne's voice dropped to something lethal. "The same witch who created my suppression seal confessed before she died. Alaric's people found her. She told them everything. It was a bluff, the witch's confession wasn't that detailed." But Garrett's face confirmed the truth before he could stop himself. The crowd's roar intensified. Several alphas moved toward Garrett, their intent clear. But Alaric raised a hand, commanding silence. "Alpha Garrett Wynter, for crimes against pack law, against bloodline sanctity, and against your own daughter, I strip you of your title and territory. The Ironwood pack is forfeit to the crown." His silver eyes were glacial. "Your execution will be carried out at dawn. Do you have any last words?" Garrett didn't speak. Instead, he did something that confirmed his madness. He shifted and lunged for Callienne, still in the circle, still bound by challenge magic. But Callienne was ready. She shifted faster than thought, meeting her father's attack head-on. The massive silver wolf and the gray alpha collided with bone-crushing force. They rolled, snapping and tearing. The crowd pressed against the barrier, watching father and daughter fight to the death. Garrett was experienced, brutal, willing to kill his own child. But Callienne was bigger, faster, and fueled by 20 years of rage. When her teeth found his throat, when she felt his pulse beneath her jaws, she didn't hesitate. She bit down. The gray wolf went limp. Callienne held the killing grip for 10 heartbeats, making sure. Then she released, stepped back, and shifted to human form. Alpha Garrett Wynter lay dead in the circle, his throat torn out, his blood staining ancient stone. "The challenge is met," Alaric announced, his voice steady despite the carnage. "Callienne Wynter claims victory and justice. All debts are paid in blood." They burned Garrett's body that night in accordance with pack tradition. Isla disappeared before dawn, fleeing to a distant territory. Beta Marcus was executed for his role in Callienne's abuse. And the Ironwood pack, leaderless, shamed, confused, awaited their fate. Callienne stood in the courtyard where she'd been chained for execution 4 days ago, watching embers drift into the night sky. Alaric approached silently, wrapping his cloak around her shoulders. "How do you feel?" he asked softly. "Empty. Full. Powerful. Broken." Callienne leaned into his warmth. "All of it simultaneously. That's normal after a first kill." Alaric's arms encircled her. "You may feel guilt later. That's normal too." "I don't think I will." Callienne turned to face him. "He tried to destroy me. He succeeded in destroying Mother. I did what was necessary." "You did." Alaric's hand cupped her face. "And now you need to decide what comes next. The pack needs a leader. You're the rightful heir." "No." Callienne shook her head. "I don't want to lead the pack that tortured me for 20 years. I want to burn this place down and start fresh somewhere else." "Then come with me." Alaric's silver eyes held hers. "Be my queen. Rule the northern territories at my side. The Elara bloodline belongs at the crown's right hand. It always did." "I barely know you," Callienne pointed out, even as her wolf held approval. "We've known each other 4 days. The mate bond doesn't need time. It needs truth." Alaric's thumb brushed her lower lip. "But I'll give you time if you need it. Court you properly. Prove I'm worthy of the wolf you've become." Callienne considered this. Considered the ruins of her old life, the potential of her new one. Considered the alpha who'd seen her value when she was chained and worthless, who'd fought for her, who'd set her wolf free. "I don't need time," she decided. "But I need a promise. Anything. Teach me to be strong. Not just physically, politically, strategically. I want to be a queen who protects Omegas. Who changes laws. Who makes sure no other wolf suffers what I suffered." Callienne's voice strengthened. "Can you accept a queen who wants revolution?" Alaric's smile was fierce and proud. "I'd accept nothing less." Their kiss was inevitable, fire and recognition and 20 years of hunger meeting infinite patience. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Alaric rested his forehead against hers. "Tomorrow, we announce the bonding. Tonight, you rest." And in a week, when you've had time to heal, we plan exactly how to revolutionize the Northern Territories. Together, Callienne confirmed. Together. As they walked back into the manor, her temporary prison turned unexpected sanctuary, Callienne caught her reflection in a window. Silver-white hair, gray eyes that now held flecks of luminous silver, the bearing of someone who'd survived execution and emerged a queen. She'd been called useless, defective, broken. But she'd never been any of those things. She'd been suppressed, abused, lied to. And now? Now she was free. Now she was powerful. And now anyone who underestimated Omegas would learn exactly how fatal that mistake could be. The Alpha King had seen the wolf forbidden by law. And that wolf was going to change everything. If you believe every Omega has the power to rise, comment, never underestimate the broken ones. Hit subscribe if you're ready to watch Callienne transform the North, only tyrants who fear change won't. Welcome to the revolution. You made it all the way to the end with me, and I can't tell you how much that means. Seriously. When I'm creating these stories late at night, pouring my heart into every word, every twist, every moment of pain and triumph, I wonder if anyone will truly feel what I'm trying to share. And you did. You stayed. Callienne's journey from that execution courtyard to claiming her power, that's what we all deserve, isn't it? To be seen. To be valued. To finally step into the strength everyone tried to convince us we didn't have. I've got another story waiting for you, and honestly, it's even more intense. More heartbreaking. More satisfying when justice finally comes. I've been working on it for weeks, and I genuinely believe you're going to love it. The thumbnail should be showing on your screen right now. Click it. Let's continue this journey together. But before you go, and I really hope you don't leave without doing this, tell me where you're watching from. I see the view counts, but I don't see you. Are you watching from your bedroom at 2 a.m. like I'm recording this? From halfway across the world? I want to know. Drop your city or country in the comments. Let me know you were here. Let me know this story mattered to you the way it mattered to me. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I'm not going to beg, but I will say this, every subscriber tells me I'm not creating in the dark. That these stories about Omegas rising, about the broken becoming powerful, about justice finally winning, they matter. So subscribe. Not for me. For every Callienne out there who needs to hear that their power is coming. I'll see you in the next story. Don't keep me waiting.